You now.
I'm Gaza. This is my neighborhood. No one live here or there or there. There's no one.
Fatma should have been with us tonight, but art remains. It is the powerful witness of our lives and dreams.
There's been increasing pressure on the festival to take a stand on the war in Gaza from some in the movie industry. Earlier in the day, nearly 400 actors, directors and other film workers signed an open letter calling for an end to the genocide.
There are moments when art collides with atrocity, when cinema's dazzling illusion shatters under the weight of real blood and real grief. This is one of those moments. And for once, some of the world's most iconic filmmakers are not dressing up in tuxedos or walking red carpets. They are bearing witness. They are putting down their golden statuettes, their glamorous premieres, and their carefully curated neutrality to say what far too many still refuse to say. There is a genocide happening in Gaza, and silence is complicity. This isn't another celebrity virtue signal. This is a line in the sand. Riz Ahmed, Juliette Binoche, Pedro Pascal, Guillermo del Toro, Joaquin Phoenix. These aren't just actors. These are voices millions listen to, and they've chosen to speak not for box office glory, but for the dead, the disappeared, and the deliberate. The story they are telling is darker, heavier, and far more urgent than anything screening inside the Palais. The letter, published on the eve of the Cannes Festival in Liberation and Variety, doesn't read like a press release. It reads like a eulogy. It is not sanitized. It does not hedge its words.
Jury President Juliette Binoche paid tribute to Gaza photojournalist Fatma Hassona, star of a documentary being screened at Cannes. She was killed with her family in an Israeli airstrike last month.
It begins with a name, Fatma Hassona, a name that should have graced red carpets and award panels, not casualty lists. She was 25, a Palestinian photojournalist, a storyteller, a woman whose bravery earned her the spotlight of an international film. She was the subject of Iranian director Sapideh Farsi's Cannes-selected documentary, Put Your Soul on Your Hand and Walk. But that light was extinguished before it could even flicker on the screen. The day after her film was announced for Cannes, an Israeli airstrike reduced her to ash. She died in her home in northern Gaza, along with 10 members of her family, her pregnant sister among them. Her dreams buried beneath the rubble of a house turned into a mass grave. And this wasn't some random accident. It was targeted erasure of a journalist, of a woman, of a witness. The letter's authors are not mincing words. They name what's happening in Gaza with the clarity that governments, studios, and sanitized press releases fear: genocide.
Photographer Fatma Hassona, the subject of a documentary by Iranian director Sapideh Farsi.
I'm a photographer.
For 7 months, Sapideh recorded their video calls. They offer an intimate glimpse into the terrifying reality of life in Gaza and Fatma's resilience.
So every time we connect and I can see her face, it feels like a miracle.
A miracle cut short. In April, a day after the film was selected for Cannes, Fatma was killed in an Israeli airstrike along with her family. Sapideh says she's struggling to come to terms with it.
There was some misunderstanding that it couldn't be true. I had talked to her the previous night and then I started looking around, and then I talked to our common friend and he confirmed that it was the case. So it's like
More than 200 journalists deliberately killed, artists and filmmakers being murdered, foreign press locked out, truth itself hunted down like an enemy combatant. And in the shadow of that violence, another story unfolds. The brutal attack and kidnapping of Palestinian filmmaker Hamdan Ballal, whose Oscar-winning film No Other Land brought Gaza's suffering into the world's most celebrated halls. After his win, he was beaten by Israeli settlers and abducted by the army. It took international outrage just to get him back alive. And what did the Academy do? Nothing, until they were shamed into a hollow apology by their own members. This is the industry's original sin, a deafening, cowardly silence while the bodies pile up and the voices are snuffed out. And that silence, it has a price, because what is the purpose of cinema if not to confront the truth? What is the meaning of storytelling if we don't stand with the stories being buried every day under Israeli bombs and global indifference? The artists behind this letter are asking the most essential question any creator, any human being must ask. If we don't speak now, when? Cinema has always prided itself on moral courage. From Schindler's List to Hotel Rwanda, from Persepolis to The Pianist, it has lifted the veil on injustice. But Gaza has become a cinematic blind spot, because to speak about Gaza means confronting uncomfortable truths about power, about propaganda, about which lives are mourned and which are erased without ceremony. This letter is not just a cry for Gaza, it's an indictment of an entire system of artistic cowardice. It's a declaration of rebellion from within the very heart of the industry, and it goes even deeper. The letter doesn't stop with Gaza. It calls out the rising tide of authoritarianism, far-right extremism, fascism, sexism, anti-trans hatred, Islamophobia, anti-Semitism, all of it part of a global assault not just on human rights, but on imagination itself. The battleground is not just Gaza's ruins. It is the stage, the page, the screen, the campus, the internet. Propaganda colonizes our stories, manipulates our empathy, reprograms our perception of good and evil. And that's why these artists are standing up. Not as politicians, not as pundits, but as guardians of narrative. Because if we allow our art to become another accomplice, another mouthpiece for empire and cruelty, then what are we even creating for? This is why the letter ends not with strategy, but with spirit. It speaks of Fatma, of all those who die in indifference. It speaks of cinema's duty, not to stay neutral, but to carry their messages, to reflect our societies, to name reality. That's what makes this moment so haunting. Not just that so many are dying, but that so many still pretend not to see it. That Cannes can roll out its red carpet while Gaza runs red with blood. That studios still hesitate to mention Palestine by name, afraid of backlash, while people lose everything, lives, homes, futures, under our watch. Let us rise up, the letter says. Let us name what is happening. Let us not wait until the cameras stop rolling to admit what the lens refused to capture. Because one day, history will ask, what did you do when the bombs fell on Gaza? When the artists were hunted? When the children were crushed beneath the rubble of their homes? Did you turn away? Did you mumble about both sides? Did you quote your publicist and say you didn't want to get involved? Or did you say no more? That is the question hanging in the air like smoke above a burning city. And this letter, this raw, beautiful, righteous act of defiance, is one answer. Let there be many more.
At the documentary screening in Cannes, Sebide shared more news.
She should have been here with us by our side. Last night we learned her killing was horrid and targeted, so I think of her and her family.
The festivals pay tribute to Fatma, a sign of the film's force, says this programmer.
It's not a film that makes a speech, it's a film about one person. Its strength is the sense of closeness and the humanity.